is everybody doing? Hopefully everyone's had a lovely day. If you were affected by the storm, hopefully you are warm and you're safe and you were okay.
Yeah.
The storm here has thank goodness, double touch wood, and thank spirit it has settled, just a little bit settled. But the snow is still falling, friends. The snow is falling.
And here there's people that don't have electricity.
Yes.
So since Friday, there's at least last time I heard at least 100,000 yet that don't have electricity.
I read I caught a clip. I think it was from MSNBC earlier today that sadly 20 deaths have been reported due to the storm.
Yeah, but that's the U.S. you're talking about, eh? But I'm talking about here. Where around me, at least 100,000.
People in Canada understand cold.
Yeah, we do. So let's say welcome to everyone in the chat. Thank you for being here. Merry Christmas, and say hello to my wonderful friends that are here to join us. We have Angela Cardamancy Mesquite. We have Jeffrey from Ripe Color, Ivana Intuitive, Miss Nancy Jean from Nancy Jane's Garden, and Ron Unconditional Love, and me. Gerald, you can come on up here and join us. Hey, Richie.
Hi,
you
Richie.
Can come here and join us. You guys have the link. So what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna have some fun. We may toss a few cards. We may give a few readings. We're going to be doing the Christmas trivia and the Christmas fun facts. Yes, friends, I brought that back because y'all said that you liked it so much last time. And Nancy Jean has a real treat for us. So I'm going to give it over to Nancy Jean. I'm going to put her in the hot seat. And Nancy Jean is going to explain to us what she is going to do. This honestly, Nancy Jean, this is really cool. So I'm thrilled that you want to do this here.
I'll explain what I'm doing right now, and then Jeffrey and I are going to have a brief conversation because he's a part of this.
Okay.
What happened is I read for a man named Tim Walter, who's a ley lines earth energies expert in England, and he teaches people how to clear houses using pendulums and finding earth energies and realigning them, which is something that interests me greatly. And when we were, also he is a dragon.
Yay!
He's a dragon, like I have Cecil. And he said that we were talking, and he said, I saw your grids on your website. And he said, what do they do? So we talked about it. And he said, so you've only made them for individuals? And I said, yes. And he said, well, I think you need to make a grid for the world. By 2023, you need to make a grid for the world. And I kind of looked at him and said, nice meeting you, Tim. You make a grid for the world. And then I got to thinking about it. So I mentioned it to Jeffrey and to Dr. Gale. And Dr. Gale said, well, I want to pull a card for it. So she pulled the heart chakra, which looks like this in the deck I use for how I decide what to call. And then I was telling Jeffrey, I can't just use that because, as you can see, it's a lovely green thing, but it doesn't have enough detail and enough stones for me to give it a lot of depth of information. So then Jeffrey and I were talking. He said, I'll put your cards out and I'll pull one. So what we do is I lay all the cards. They look like this on the table. And then he tells me which one to stop and hit. And he picked this one. And this is Merkaba.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So anyway, then I'm looking at it. I'm like, now I'm really going to have to build this thing because I actually have form for it. And then, of course, well, you all don't know, but my car's battery decided that working was another option. Not working was the one it was keeping. And so it took me like 3 weeks to get my head together and say, okay, I'll get it jumped and see how bad the damage is. And so for the purchase of a new battery and $87 worth of repairs on a small connection, I have my cars all back running like it's supposed to. So on the way back from the car place, I stopped at the rock shop and I had carried the cards with me and I found the stones I needed. But I want Jeffrey to explain. So if you can zoop Jeffrey and make Jeffrey me, I can't. Yeah. Um, there,
There, he's
Jeffrey's
in the
going
hot seat. Your turn to be
Jeffrey's going to explain the Merkaba, what the Merkaba is for those that if you don't know it.
Okay, I hope I'm not I don't want to make this complicated, however. Okay, so the Merkaba, okay, so the root of the word Merkaba is Rakev, which in Hebrew means trans, like to transport, to transmute, to translate, to go from one place to another. Even in Hebrew today, the word Rakevet means train, right? So the Merkaba is a vehicle. It's a vehicle. So the shape of the Merkaba is really, it's basically the Star of David, but in 3D. So the Star of David is a upturned triangle and a downturned triangle, right? So the understanding is, okay, you see this all over symbolism, all over the Tarot, all over architecture, all over everything, nature. So the upturned triangle is the fire element, right? Which it has this energy of reaching up, this energy of penetrating, right? It has a masculine energy like the sun. The downturned triangle is like the symbol of water and it receives. So when the two of them combine, it's really as above, so below. It's this energy almost of a marriage of the heavens and the earth, of God and humanity. It's really very powerful. So the Merkaba shows up in the book of Ezekiel as the way he transports to another place. It's interesting because sometimes you watch these things about all these ancient civilizations, and everyone's like alien, alien. Okay, fine, but it's like how could they be in their body and out of their body at the same time? This is how. You could be in your body and out of your body simultaneously, right? In heaven, of earth and in heaven. That's what the Merkaba is about. So the shape of the Merkaba is like the Star of David, which is also the heart chakra in Hindu thought, right?
Mhm.
But now it becomes a tetrahedron. So it's a 3D object. So imagine a three-sided pyramid, right? Going up and another one coming down and them combining. And this is the energy grid of the earth. This is also the energy grid of humans. And there are meditations you could do where you have one spinning this way, the other one spinning that way. You're sitting in the middle and you go. You basically sit at the throne of God. It's a chariot. It's the chariot of God that leads you to heaven. And this is where Ezekiel had his visions.
Mhm.
So it's a very, very ancient and very powerful and very useful shape, tool, transportation device. Was that a good explanation?
That's great.
Mhm.
Okay. And now if you can cut to the table, not me. Okay. This is a Merkaba, what I'm holding in my hand. It's a stone one. It's like two pyramids that got jammed together, one going up and one going down. And it is at the end. It's I do stuff with sacred geometry. All of my grids are based on sacred geometry. And this is the image of the Merkaba that I had to work from or that I chose to work from. And so I put the stone of lepidolite right in the middle, and I like it because it looks a lot like that stone. I like to use natural forms if I can. And this is my pie plate of formation. I do this because the stones are real easy to move around. If I put something on, I don't like it, it's real easy to get it off. But what lepidolite means, it releases and reorganizes all of energy. That's what the stone lepidolite means. And you put that together with the shape and the form of being at the center of the Merkaba,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be this blue space.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a couple different choices. I'm going to run through this real quickly, guys, because I swear I don't think it's all that fascinating. But people kept saying, "Show me a grid. Show me a grid." So if you look, we have a very dark red at the top. And so I thought I was going to use, that's rough red jasper. And it's a beautiful red. My camera's not very good with color, which is unfortunate, but there. And then you have two other red spots that are this is the darkest red, and this is a red that diminishes and changes color. And for that I chose, and that red jasper, by the way, the energy essence of it in crystals is absorbs negative energy and opens up new horizons. Then I look at the gold stone, which is what I'm going to put going this way and this way. And this is what it'll look like today, guys. What I do is I strike them after I build them the first time, and I decide what to do. But these are gold stones, and you can see they're red with kind of a flare of gold off of them. And the gold stone brings courage, positive attitudes, and it has an uplifting energy. So now we've got reorganization and re-energizing, absorbing and moving to new places. And so you're going to find all these are going to be really positive stones. Then I've got 3 more blues to fill in. And what I came up with was, honest to God, guys, I have so many sacks of stones here. It's nuts.
I like the clicking sound of the stones.
I do when I clink them down and they're in glue and they're stuck someplace. I had.
Well, you use hot glue to do that? Glue?
I use I use an epoxy glue, and that's why there's only certain days I can do it, because if I don't ventilate the house, I actually made myself physically sick and was sick for 4 days.
Yes, it's strong stuff.
Yeah, it's very bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm going to put in there for the time being, because I forgot to pull my blue stones. But what I'm going to put in here in the place so you can kind of see, this is why when I first build a grid, I kind of put it together and then I kind of take it apart. So this one I'm going to use, because I just like it and it's pretty. But the stones I have are blue like this, but these happen to be red tiger's eye. But they'll be formed like that. So this sort of creates this star-like character in the middle. And then the colors I'm going to put around it is, if you look at that, there's like a very light blue. And I love this stone. It's called chrysoprase. And chrysoprase, open up the back. Okay. Chrysoprase is, it brings in the divine truths, and that's why I'm going to surround these areas. Need the chrysoprase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you notice, I'm building this in 6s. 6s six is the number in numerology of taking care of hearth and home, and I think that's what Mother Nature wants to come back and help us with. So, so I'll find, and these are not probably going to be the stones that are going to end up being there, but they look like this.
That's pretty.
I love the color. Chrysoprase is a little like Amazonite. If you suffer from anxiety, get some chrysoprase and keep it with you all the time. It really helps fight that energy off. So does Amazonite. I built a grid for a friend who had anxiety so bad she kept interviewing for jobs she was more than capable of getting, and she didn't get them. And finally I built her a grid, but the whole first outer ring was nothing but Amazonite. And then she took the grid home and fired it up, which is like a whole nother thing. these stones will be more balanced in shape and size. But then the last thing I'm going to put on the outside is going to be green adventurine. And green adventurine is for healing, good luck, and to clear the soul. And so it'll be like out here, it'll be in these big spaces. And so people say, how do you build grids? What do you do when you build a grid? Well, you get the cards and you sit around and think about what you look at the colors, because the cards a lot of times, like today, I just said, which stones do I have that are going to work best with this? That's what it'll basically look like, but it'll be a little more spread out and balanced. But that's the grid for the soul. And on New Year's, I'll bring it in, all glued down, and it'll be on a dark green background because the chakra that it was married with was the heart chakra. So it'll be on a green background like that.
Right.
Mhm.
But that's building a grid, and I'm sorry it wasn't more exciting. But when you fire it up, we'll fire it up on New Year's and light it up and see. And if you're where it is, or if you present your mind to where it is, you can feel the action going on there. And I am living up to, I think, what Tim Walter wanted me to do and what just everybody kept pushing me to do. So we're going to do it. So you can cut back to the whole grid, a whole group of folks, and get rid of the table.
I had
Love
the impression when you guys were talking about all that, that was the impression about the whole world or humanity waking up.
Yes.
That's what I had an impression when you were talking all about that. So
It is exactly why I think why Tim wants it. And Tim's very tied to earth energies, earth lines, and that sort of stuff. And he's going to come back on my show. He's taking some time off right now. He takes 3 weeks off at Christmas because he lives in Europe and they know about taking vacations, unlike us. But he's and I think it's all the same. The energy that's coming from the earth and how we respond to it, the energy that's coming from the photons that are hitting the planet. I found an art. I don't know if you guys know that much about that, but the energies, that we fell out of a energetic cloud that we'd been covered by for 12,000 years, and it stopped us from getting a lot of subatomic particles, photons, and things like that in the intensity we're getting them now. And I found an article in just drifting around half asleep one night, and it was about how scientists have begun to realize that since 2017 that the humans have begun to have what looked like minor genetic changes on what they thought were dead genes. There's a lot of your DNA that they don't know what it does. They can't say, make sure they call it junk DNA, but it's not junk, and it's being fired up. And the next article I read was scientists are trying to figure out why mankind went into such a warlike stance 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, when we rolled into this cloud that protected us from growing and changing. So, all these things are interconnected, and science is now discovering it. Aren't they clever?
It's funny when you were talking about unwanted DNA, I was like, well, can we talk about this? But it's a whole other topic. My turkey neck.
My double chin will go away if I go back on keto. And
you know what's really funny? I walk by the mirror every once in a while, as we do. And all of a sudden I just walked past one day and I was like, what? And I literally backed up and looked at myself and went, oh, all of a sudden my mother arrived in my body. I was like, what is that? Who did that? My mother had the same thing. And it's like, oh my God. And as I get older, it's stretching further down, and now I'm getting the gobble part in the bottom here. And I'm like, oh my Lord. Today when I was putting this thing on, it's like a turtleneck. And I'm like, Yeah, no, that doesn't look good at all. And I didn't have to do that last year. Last year I could leave the turtleneck up. This year I have to fold it down. I'm like, oh.
The one I can't do is I can't put nail polish on, because when I put nail polish on, they look just like my mother's hands. I have my mother's hands now.
See, isn't it funny how we feel like that?
Yes.
Nancy Jean, thank you. That is awesome. So, Nancy Jean sent me discussed this with me yesterday and said, what do you think? And I'm like, that's an awesome idea.
Mm-hmm.
To build a grid for the world.
Mhm.
Everyone's saying thank you, Nancy Jean, and also saying glad to hear that your car is working, which is lovely.
And cheaply, it didn't cost.
cheaply. Yeah. So, friends, we're all just hanging out. Thank you for being here. So let's have some fun facts. I mean, why not, right? What the heck else are we gonna do? What would you do with a bunch of readers? I mean, I don't know. That was me trying to be funny. So for my U.S. friends, which president was the first president to put a Christmas tree in the White House?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Teddy Roosevelt.
John Adams.
Woodrow Wilson.
Truman.
Abraham Lincoln. I don't know. I'm Canadian.
Yeah, Lincoln.
Right, that's my excuse too, Ron. It was Franklin Pierce from 1853 to 1857 was believed to have been the first president to put a Christmas tree in the White House, which I just thought was super interesting. Now this I thought was also super interesting because we were talking about this last night. I think that Bora Bora actually brought this up last night. So newspaper publishers hate publishing phone numbers because there's this like massive potential for mistakes, right?
Right.
And in 1955, the company Sears, which I mean, friends, we're all of a certain age that we know Sears and the Christmas wish, like miss it too, right? But in 1955, Sears tried to put the number of one of their stores where children could call Santa Claus and tell him what they wanted for Christmas in the newspaper, wanted it published like as part of an advertisement. And yep, so they did that. They put the phone number in. However, the number that was printed, and I'm turning this into a trivia question. The question that, or the phone number that was printed, take a wild guess at what American, we'll say, government or authority defense kind of place do you think the number was? Like it belonged to? This is crazy to me.
Oh, really?
Pentagon.
Department
I know
of
the
Defense.
answer to this one. It's how NORAD started.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because they called the radar guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Susan's going to come help.
I'll come assist with this. What happened was is Sears printed the number that was the red line between the Pentagon and the I think it's the Colorado NORAD Center.
Yeah.
So it started ringing off the hook, and luckily the commander in charge had a sense of humor, and he told his people, "Take the calls. We're just going to keep doing this now."
Yeah. And so that's how the Santa tracker actually got started, according to Google. So thank you for the help. I just thought that was super interesting.
I love that.
Isn't that cool? Which now provides, flight updates on the internet, TV news,
Yes,
and a special app each Christmas. And all started because Sears was trying to get the kiddos to be able to talk to Santa, which I just think is hysterical.
You know what's sad about all that? I'm old enough to remember when that happened. I was 6.
Oh, wow. Okay. Listen, you're only as old as you feel.
Is that why they closed the store? They're out of business.
I don't know. No. So this brings me to another point, and Canadians stand up proud for this one because I love this. So letters, obviously, from children go out to Santa Claus by the millions. And a few years ago in Canada, some postal workers took it upon themselves to start answering back to certain letters that they received in their post office. And so the uppers of the Canada postal system heard about this and decided to create the postal code for Santa Claus. So now if any child in Canada or across the world sends Santa Claus a letter and puts this particular postal code in it, which is HOHOHO, which is ho ho ho, it will be directed. So Santa Claus has his own postal code here in Canada, which I just love.
That's nice.
Well, I mean, I love the idea that it started because people thought, you know what, this would be really neat to answer the kiddos back. You know what I mean? I just think that's beautiful. I love that. This is a neat one. So the song "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," right? Most people are familiar with that song. Originally was sung by servants to demand alcoholic drinks from the people that they worked for.
Wow.
Okay.
So the line, "We won't go until we get some,"
Oh,
that's what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
And so bring some out here, like that. That's what that's all about. Can you imagine, like, a protest? I love it. I love it. Bing Crosby's "White Christmas" still to this moment in time is the best-selling Christmas song with more than 50 million copies sold around the world, which I love.
that's amazing.
I think that's totally cool. I learned something really interesting today. So I was writing down this trivia question, and then I was going to many different sites and gathering information, and you'll find that, like, the same questions, you'll find them multiple times. So "Rocking Around the Christmas Tree" was written by a young lady when she was 13 years old.
Wow.
Good.
Was
Good
never
for her.
supposed to be like the song that we know it to be today. It was never supposed to be that. It was just, some young girl sitting at home, like, trying to entertain herself at Christmas time. And she ended up writing this song that, pretty much everyone in the world knows. Well, not everyone in the world. Or maybe. I don't know. Gerald says, "My father used to get NORAD on his amateur radio when I was growing up. It was a highlight of the season." That's so cool.
Wow, nice.
I love that. Oh, and Bora Bora says that she read that on the NORAD Santa Tracker app about the Christmas letters to the children. That's cool. Okay, so I have a trivia question. Hi, Kristen. I think that this one is really neat. Let me find it here, because I want to know if you guys know this. How many reindeer pull Santa's sleigh?
Well,
7.
12?
8.
I was going to say 12 too. Okay.
How many people in the chat, or how many reindeer pull Santa's sleigh, chat? Don't Google it all at once. You'll jam up the internet.
9.
It's 9.
Oh, wow.
Can you name some of them?
Rudolph.
Prancer, Dancer, Blitzen,
Dixon.
Donner.
Donner and Vixen. Comet and Cupid and
Yep. Comet and Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. Dasher and Dancer.
Prancer and Vixen.
There you go. And Rudolph.
Yeah.
And Rudolph.
Rudolph.
I love it. It's the simple things that we forget, friends. That's what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Rudolph was the one with the red nose, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes, he was. Uh, any guesses as to approximately when Christmas trees became a tradition? Like
In which country?
in Germany, because that's where it started. Christmas trees were started in Germany. So we're talking 1600s, 1700s, or 1800s. I'll give you that as a clue.
I say
Yep.
17.
16.
16. Wasn't it an outgrowth of their religion to the worship of the mistletoe and to the evergreen?
That part I don't know.
Hmm.
I didn't get that part in my facts, but thank you for pointing that out. I'll go back and research. What I've got is this. So it is believed that Germany began the tradition of the Christmas tree. And additionally, just as an extra tidbit, tinsel, you know that thing that you don't ever use if you have animals, especially cats?
Yes.
Tinsel was once made out of actual silver.
Ooh.
Wow.
How sparkly would that have been, friends? So trace to what year? 1610.
Wow.
When you think about stuff like that, and I'm saying this for a reason, because Nancy Jean does these most amazing past life readings, and when you think about the fact, like we're in 2022, about to go into 2023, and they have had Christmas trees since 1610. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Well, think about when King Henry was king of England. That was in the 1500s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay. And when he abolished the Catholic Church, he decided to make a big deal out of Christmas.
Yep.
But and they no, it was actually after. He made a big deal out of Christmas, and so all of the 12 days of Christmas are saints' days. And in England at that time, they started celebrating on the 25th, and they didn't stop until the 12 days of Christmas. And actually, Christmas wasn't that big a deal. I mean, they went to church, and then they started a hearty party. And I just watched a whole documentary on PBS about it. Tells you how much fun my life is. And it was Lucy Worsley who follows all the ancient royals.
Yeah, she's very good.
She's very good. And she talked about how Henry invented all of the gift giving and all the stuff. It was all really a whole lot of political maneuvers on his part.
Yep.
And what happened was when he abolished the Catholic Church, it took away the saints' days.
Yes.
And so the 12 days of Christmas slowly and sometimes rapidly went away, and to the point that the Puritans that founded America didn't even celebrate Christmas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I actually read that today. There
yeah,
was a point in time that they were against it.
yeah, and there still are Christian faiths that don't think. Well, in actual fact, we probably are celebrating at the wrong time. We just hooked up with the Roman Saturnalia, but it was really interesting to watch all of the things that started with him, the Christmas puddings and the certain kinds of feasts on certain kinds of days and all that stuff.
Yeah.
was started back then, and we still do those now, and they came out of just the king trying to pull a stunt.
Yeah. I just think that that's so interesting when you think about it, just in terms of like, in your own family, sometimes you'll say like, oh, that was something that we did as a kid. And like, I don't have the means or the knowledge to keep that tradition going. And yet Christmas trees started like 400 years ago. It just kind of, anyway, I digress. Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, was German. And he is credited with establishing the popularity of having a Christmas tree in your home back in England in the mid-19th century, which I thought was interesting. Now, friends, Here's a little tidbit for you. In 1836, Alabama was the first U.S. state to set Christmas as a legal holiday.
Yeah.
Take a guess what state and or what year, depending on how far you want to go with guessing, was the last state in U.S. to declare Christmas a holiday.
Hawaii.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hawaii. No.
I mean, it might have been Hawaii, but
It
according to
wasn't a state. It wasn't. Once they were states,
1907, Oklahoma.
Ah.
Wow.
Oklahoma's always been a bit behind.
Still up.
For entertainment purposes only, nothing against people from Oklahoma.
Yeah, I don't cross the northern border.
I thought that was interesting. Okay, friends. So, here's hi Jay.
Hi, Jay.
Here's what I want to know. I want to know if you have, like a tradition in your family or something that you have done, like growing up over the years, that you think that might surprise us in terms of your Christmas sort of traditions, or something that you did on Christmas Day, something that you would like to share with the people that'll be on the internet forever and you won't ever be able to take back. No, I'm just kidding. Is there anything that you did growing up as a kid that you wish that you had have continued, or something that you just really looked forward to during Christmas? Other than opening presents, of course. Nothing.
No, I have one that was in my family, and I made it last night. I made a homemade seafood chowder, and we had seafood chowder every Christmas Eve. I unfortunately have raised a bunch of heathens who don't like seafood chowder, and so when I make seafood chowder, I have to freeze some of it and thaw it out, a month later, because it's a really rich chowder. But I'll tell you the weirdest family Christmas tradition I heard of. I think this is almost in my life. This gives you another idea of the intellectual time I spend at my house. I watch Lego Master Builders with the celebrities. And there was a woman on there, and I know her when I see her, but I don't remember what her name was. But her family had a tradition of everybody in the family brought a hot sauce, and they all tried to burn out each other's mouths. They were talking on the show about it.
Wow.
So the host, they gave the host, she said, try this. This is the hot sauce I gave to my family. And he tried to slip it down because he doesn't like hot sauce, and he dropped it on the floor. And she says, that's yours on the floor. You have to do it again. So he tried it, and the poor guy, the crew had to run in with milk. His eyes were watering. It was so hot. But can you imagine taking hot sauce to your family and trying to burn each other up?
Actually, no, I can't. But
Actually, yes, I can.
well, there you go.
Unfortunately, I could kind of too if anyone had thought of it.
I love it.
Reminds me of something my mom. These hot spices like hot banana. I think they call them hot banana.
Right.
Really strong, fiery stuff. She's eating like this. I'm looking at her. I'm a kid, so I don't know. Hey, I gotta try that. I put that in my mouth. I go, I couldn't. It's too much for me. But she used to eat it like it's nothing. I don't know how she even raw, just like that. Just eat it like that. A hot banana.
I love it.
It's just
Anybody else got a funny tradition or a weird tradition or anything that they want to share?
I'll tell you something really nice.
Okay.
I grew up in Brooklyn, and I'm 59. So when I grew up, the neighborhood I grew up in was it was all kids. I mean, everybody had a kid or two or more. So every single house had a kid, and it was all two-family houses, and it was one house attached to another, So it was really dense. And every Christmas, there were two brothers, like a few blocks from me, like maybe 2 or 3 avenues, like maybe a 10-minute walk, give or take. And they would get a sleigh, like a giant sleigh, and one of them would dress like Santa, and they gave presents to every child in the neighborhood.
I love
Wow.
that.
Oh,
Isn't that
wow.
Beautiful.
That's
Think
amazing.
about
Yeah.
So this, I'm talking about like mid to late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You go, and I mean, I'm Jewish, you know?
Yeah.
And then you sit on Santa, he goes, have you been good? You know, of course, every kid's going to say, yeah, I've been good, I've been good.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be like a cheap, like a little car, like, or a little doll. You know, it was like a cheap little thing, almost like you get at the dollar store, but they were wrapped.
Yeah.
And it made you feel like, you were loved.
Yeah.
They
I love that.
They did it for years and years and years and years.
I
Isn't that
love
beautiful?
it. It is
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It makes me not want to share my story, but I'm going to. So my dad, honestly, my dad liked to entertain people. I know that's a stretch because I'm such a wallflower, but my dad liked to have parties and entertain, and every once in a while, pretty much every holiday, my dad would do this like bit where he would dress up like a stripper
Oh, Jesus.
and then strip for us. Well, not for us. I don't mean his kids. I mean the people at the party. That was weird. Sorry.
The MAGAs are coming to your house and you're in another country.
Yeah, for the people at the party, and just so many times I remember, because we were in our pajamas or whatever, and like all the kids are sleeping. You know what I mean? And like we would come down the stairs because all the music would be happening, and we'd all just be looking at like, who's that funny lady with the weird, like he'd have one of those pointy bras on and like a Hawaiian grass skirt. I mean, it didn't make any sense. And, the big gloves up here and the whole, dan and boom. And it was just like, I could picture it like it was standing in front of me right now. And it was just, it became a part of Christmas, which is slightly embarrassing, but also very heartwarming at the same time, which I can't explain that, but it's because it was my dad. But yeah. That was just one of those weird things that we did, You guys didn't do that? You didn't have that experience?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't want to bring that up, but Kelly always says I look like her dad, so it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah, as my yeah, you do. I mean, my sister was here and she even said it, so it's not just me making it up. Oh, Jay, thank you, sweetheart. It's all good. You were here last night. Maybe you can come and join us tomorrow. You're always welcome. Hope you have a good time. Yeah. Good times. Having my dad doing the striptease. It's just too much fun. I can't really go on about it enough. I'm kidding. Okay. Here's another trivia question for you. Which U.S. state has a town called Santa Claus?
Ooh, I should know that one.
Indiana.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Linda says you love fruitcake. I love it.
Honest to God, guys, my head is so full of junky trivia. I don't even know where I learned it.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
In which country did Boxing Day originate as a holiday?
Australia.
England.
What?
Yes, Eugene, listen, if you're going to play... No, I'm just kidding. You have to give people a chance to answer, no?
I actually got asked to leave a Tupperware party because I thought you were supposed to answer the questions. And I didn't. And if someone asks me a question and I know the answer, I tell them. One woman kind of, when we broke to have little snacks, and she said, "You're supposed to let other people get the prizes." And I went, "Oh." So I went home as an adult, as I had as a small child. thoroughly embarrassed because I had absolutely none of the social norms. Apparently, everyone else understood.
I love it. All right, here's one that I don't know that everyone's going to know. And I have to tell you that when I found this question, it just gave me the question. It didn't give me the answer. I spent like 20 minutes searching the internet for the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just rude.
I agree.
Do you think that's just rude? Like, you know,
Yeah.
Christmas trivia,
Yeah.
there's the question, there's no answer. I'm like, well, what is the point of that? Now I got to go to 16 different places. I mean, I'm not trying to like buy a car or anything. I'm not looking for reviews. I just need an answer. Anyway, how many points is the word Christmas worth in the game of Scrabble? The original game of Scrabble. Jeffrey's got to be
Yeah.
right.
Jeffrey said, I never played. That's the other thing. No one would ever play Scrabble with me because I was a spelling champ. So
Yeah.
I don't know what any of those letters mean.
10, 11, 12.
Oh, they do, Sabrina? That's really cool.
16.
Yes.
Wow.
See, this is where Jeffrey and I talk to each
I
other.
love Scrabble.
So point, friends, don't play Scrabble with Jeffrey or Nancy Jean is
The
pretty much.
key to Scrabble, okay, is you have to use your tiles wisely.
Yes.
It's like you have a W, don't waste it. It's 4 points. Where am I putting it on the board? Oh, I'm just going to make. Oh, look, I made a word. It's like I waited 20 minutes. It's a 5-letter word and it's not worth any points. If I waited 20 minutes and you have like a 30-point word, then it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's use your tiles wisely. Use those big tiles in a really good square. That's the key to Scrabble.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
heard
don't know what it means. It's like, I don't know what it means either. I'm trying to win the game.
What letter has the most points?
Please join us tonight on the special edition of Christmas and Scrabble Tidbits. I love it.
What letter has the most points? I don't know. I never played.
Z,
Z.
Q. Z and Q are both worth 10 points.
Wow.
I think. The Z and the Q, right? 10
Is
points.
the
X is 8 points.
okay.
The J, I think, is 8 points. Those are the big ones.
See, and Jeffrey is a bigger nerd than me because he knows that. Because
I haven't played in years. In fact, I left my Scrabble board in New York. I had like a deluxe edition, but I said I couldn't fit it. Oh well.
That's very cool.
You're supposed to be learning Spanish.
C.
Senora.
All right. Oh, here's a good one. When was the first Christmas card sent? Now, I have to tell you that it did not suggest where. So I am assuming that it could be anywhere because it wasn't just like the States. It could be anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when was the first Christmas card sent?
1853.
I'm sorry, what?
1853.
How did you know that? No, it's actually 1843. But when you
That's
said
what I meant to say.
you said
Yep, I agree.
That's how I win Scrabble.
Jeffrey's getting all the teammates on his team.
That's funny.
Okay, so IKEA, the company IKEA, allegedly made the largest gingerbread man. True or false? Look, now everyone's waiting for Jeffrey to answer, or
True.
Nancy Jean.
Mm-mm.
True? You're saying not, Nancy Jean?
What about we take it to a vote? Let's see if we do it that way.
Okay, all those saying true? All those saying false?
I just don't have no idea.
Is the table voting? No, I'm just kidding.
Nancy Jean gets 2
Let
votes.
me go. Ah!
So we're going with true. It's true.
Oh,
They allegedly tried to make the largest gingerbread man, which I just think is cool. Now, speaking of a gingerbread man, which then leads us to a gingerbread house.
Mm-hmm.
Which fairy tale served as an inspiration for the first gingerbread houses?
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel. Yeah.
I gave that one to you. It was really easy. I'm just kidding.
I worked on a giant gingerbread house when I was a chef's apprentice in the pastry kitchen,
Wow.
and it was a ballroom long.
Wow.
We were making the pieces. We were making the pieces for that thing for 2 months. I mean, when you work in a pastry kitchen, you don't see the pastry as pastry anymore. It's just what you're producing, right?
Right.
Mhm.
But even that took a couple years before I heard smell gingerbread and didn't want to gag. So
Yeah.
So sweet. My Aunt Carol, my mom's sister, was my most favorite person in the whole wide world. And I would do absolutely anything for my Auntie Carol. And we had been at her house, at my grandmother's house, and we were looking through a magazine, and she had come across a picture of Christmas ornaments that were made. It was like one of these, like, housekeeping magazines or Women's Day or something like that. And we had come across these homemade ornaments that looked like gingerbread houses, but they were actually made for bird feeders. They were made out of Rice Krispies.
Oh.
Like you make Rice Krispie squares. And anyway, she said, I want to do this. And I was like, okay. And so I gathered all of the supplies together, and I went to the store and I bought like the biggest box of Rice Krispies I could get my hands on. And in true Kelly fashion, I mean, listen, why are we just going to build an inky, binky little square like this? Let's build a whole village. Like we're going for like a double wide house. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. I needed like Jeffrey, like I needed some mathematics because I totally screwed it up. Anyway, this was the worst experiment gone wrong, friends, just so you know. So we built this thing, and we got like the four walls and the roof on, and we started to decorate it. And all of a sudden, one of the sides of the roof started to go like this. And when that thing crashed, it actually cracked the tile in the kitchen on the kitchen. Like it was like,
what are you putting in your Rice Krispie treat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
I wanted to say, did you eat it? Now that I hear the story, it's like, I hope not.
no, because my mom thought that we were gonna break our teeth off, or worse. We'd probably have to go to the hospital and have our stomachs pumped or something. It was the worst thing, and my poor aunt was so upset, and I felt horrible. And I tried to talk everyone in my family into like helping us like do it again, and they were like, no. And that's when my mom started to buy gingerbread houses, and we would take them to. I said this last night. We would take them to wherever we were for dinner. And because the smashing of the floor thing was actually kind of exciting. So, when you buy the gingerbread house, because we didn't make it, you buy it and it comes in the cellophane, and we would just stand there, all the kids, and we would like drop it on the floor and it would smash. And then we'd just like open up the bag and like feed. Right. So the birdhouse thing is how we got to the gingerbread house thing. So I thought I'd share that story.
Rice Krispie squares, are they? I think they were made with marshmallows, weren't they?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I made mine with tar, obviously, not with marshmallows.
Obviously.
Oh my God.
Okay. Do you guys know this? When gold was dropped down the chimney of the home of the three poor sisters, it created what Christmas tradition? Do you know that story?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
stockings by the fireplace. So the gold was allegedly dropped down the chimney of three sisters who were very poor and had nothing for their dowry. And someone gifted them the gold, and they put that in their stockings so that they would be more attractive to suitors. And that is how they say that is how the tradition of hanging stockings sort of came to. I just thought it was super interesting. And by the way, there was no gold in my stocking.
No.
No, none. All right. You guys got any trivia? Got any fun facts? Anything? Nope.
Where are you, Ivana?
No.
Ivana, where are you located?
I am in northeastern Ohio.
But it's so green behind you.
I'm on my back porch. And I have a heater right on me. It's like 2
But
degrees.
that's still growing at that time of year?
Well, it's an enclosed back porch.
Oh, okay.
So I can't believe it. I can't believe how beautiful this tree is growing. It's a
Beautiful.
ficus tree. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You know, ficus grow on the street here in Mexico. They're incredible.
I heard that they can go like 60 feet tall.
Oh, yeah. And they form them into shapes here sometimes. It's really lovely.
Oh,
They really, really thrive here.
yeah, that's good to hear.
Let's do some readings. You guys got your cards out?
Yeah. Let me take a break. I'll be right back.
Okay. I would like to know how Santa is feeling right now. I want to know what Santa's doing, what Santa's up to. How's he feeling after his big trip around the world? Does he feel like he accomplished his mission? Is he looking for like a vacation? Just one or two cards, yeah. How is Santa feeling after his world trip?
He's got a headache.
Yes, Linda, you are right. If you don't have the right portions of butter and marshmallows, you get cement.
Oh, I pulled 2 cards.
You're allowed to pull 2 cards.
The first one, can I read now or?
Sure.
Okay.
Reason you got a card.
The first one I pulled was elves, and it says playfulness. So I think he's happy to be back, relaxing and having a just playful time with the elves. I can't even believe I pulled a card that says elves. And the next card that I got was Moonlight Enchantment, which is magic. He's enjoying being back home and the magic that he, creates and hanging out with his elves.
Don't you love it?
Yeah, I love that.
Guess what I pulled?
What you got?
The 7 of Wands. That is also magic. Very good. So, magic.
I love it.
I pulled he's back home being king of the realm, running the show.
Yep.
And he's just so glad it's over.
Yeah.
And now he's just gonna hang out. He's gonna be a hangman.
I love it.
I got that he feels like he's the last unicorn,
Mhm.
and it was a shit show because of the storm.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Because he had to go through that whole storm that we've all been experiencing.
Right.
Mhm.
I got the Knight of Pentacles, so that's just super interesting to me, right? He went after it. He tackled it. He was on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I've got the 6 of Swords, so he's now moving away from the frenzy of what is known as the holidays, and of course, working with such a tight sort of time frame. And on the bottom of the deck, I've got the 6 of Cups. So he is very nostalgic and thinking about all of the kids and how they're going to feel when they come down. And I think he's quite proud of himself, which just makes me feel good. Love that.
Oh, I
Jeffrey,
got
you
the
want to
3.
You got the what?
The 3. He's already working on next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's Santa. All right. You guys got anything that you want us to read on in the chat? Let us know. We're not doing like personal readings, just as an FYI. This is like fun reading. So just if anyone was not here last year when we did this, we read on Frosty, we read on Rudolph, we read on the elves, we read on Santa Claus, we read on the tree at Rockefeller. Is it Rockefeller Square or Rockefeller Center? Rockefeller Center.
Rockefeller
Thank
Center. Yeah.
you. Things like that. So if anyone has anything like that you would like to throw up in the chat, well, not throw up, but you know what I mean, put up in the chat. Honestly, do that. You guys have anything that you would like us to read on? You know what we could do? We could ask. What day are we for Hanukkah? What day number is this for Hanukkah?
I don't remember.
We could ask how Hanukkah celebrations are going.
I could look it up. Wait.
I think it's like maybe day 4 or day 5.
No, I think it's at least 5. Tomorrow is the last day.
Oh, okay. So, how is Mrs. Claus doing? Day 6.
Okay.
Yeah. How is Mrs. Claus doing? We'll do that one. Absolutely. How is Mrs. Claus doing? She probably had to kick her friend out. Sorry. Inside voice, Kelly. Inside voice. For entertainment purposes only. Hi, Teresa. All right. Oh. Okay, I don't need to go any further. I got the full card popped right out. So new beginning, friends, and on the bottom of the deck we have the 3 of Cups. Her man's come home and they're just gonna chill and have a good night and get ready to start all over again.
I pulled the Ace of Swords. She's using her feminine intuition to the maximum.
Plotting and scheming, is she?
Yeah. Everything.
I got
Bye,
gratitude.
Joan. Sorry,
I got
Ivana.
gratitude.
Bye, Joan. Merry Christmas.
Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry,
Bye.
go ahead,
No,
Ivana.
yep, that's okay. I got gratitude, renewal. She's glad he's back. It's renewable, and flexibility. However you want to add, think of that.
Hey, you went there. You are already there. Oh,
Okay, I got that she's trying to focus on the positive, push through insecurities, and step up and lead. So I think she's trying to reclaim the keys to her castle.
so Mrs. Claus.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. Did you pull any cards, Jeff?
Yeah, I got the. I got she's like, you're in charge out there, but I'm in charge in here.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
That's
Boom.
the Ace of Wands.
I use the Ace of Swords. It's like the Ace of Wands. It's like it's a 2x4.
Uh-huh.
So Mrs. Claus wears
Boom.
Mrs. Claus wears the pants at home, eh?
Uh-huh.
Interesting. I love it. I love it. So
You might be shot out there.
right? I love that. Last year we read on the elves, and who was here? EQ was here from the Soul Sisters, and she used her own tarot deck that she's actually created. and she pulled a card that said, "Shh," like they wanted it to be a secret. They didn't want to tell us how they were feeling because they didn't want the world to know. And I just thought that was so fascinating.
Yeah.
These readings were actually quite they were humorous, but they were actually quite telling. Like the one that we did on Rockefeller Center, the tree. Every reader that was on the screen was like dumbfounded by the time that we completed that reading, because the tree wanted to it wanted to stand tall, it wanted to stand proud, but it wanted to go home. It wanted to be with its family. I know, right? So as much as these may seem like they're funny and fun, we may be surprised with the reading that we get.
Well, they're energies.
Like
I mean, they're energies, whether they are in this reality or in another reality, they're still energies.
Absolutely. So let's see. So it's day 6, you said, Jeffrey? Or this last week, so day 7.
Yeah.
So how have the Hanukkah celebrations gone for the people that celebrate Hanukkah? Or do we want to ask, like, what will the last day of Hanukkah bring?
That's a good question. Yeah.
What will the last day of Hanukkah bring to the people that celebrate?
Well, you know, the thing about Hanukkah, it's the festival of lights.
Yes.
Festival of lights. So it's interesting, you know, this time of year to have the light when, you know, everything is dark, la 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 la.
Well, that was not the card I thought I was going to get.
I got the 4 of Wands. 4 of Wands. All about having fun, celebrating.
Good.
Yeah.
I got that a lot of people didn't feel. They feel like there's so much misinformation about what's going on around them, but they have no delusions about what's really going on. And they're afraid of people taking retribution on them. There's a certain amount of reality and fear there.
Yep. I sort of got that too. Sorry, go ahead, Ivana.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I got stay the course, which is you are moving in the right direction. I got the way is clear, awaken to the power within you. And the last one I got was dream big, dream with your heart.
I like
It's
that.
beautiful.
That's a lot like what I got.
What'd you get, Ange?
I got TikTok. The time is coming to an end. I got the lights, and then I got Eureka.
Oh,
Cool.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I just did one card. I got the Page of Wands. I love the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is like he has enthusiasm. He has a new idea. The way my little interpretation of the Page of Wands is, I'm going to go build an oasis in the desert. You know, everyone else says it won't work, but I know it'll work because I'm a page, and it'll work.
Right.
Like a blood, you're right. Beginner's luck in a way.
Yeah.
I love that. Ron,
And
did you
Bora
go?
Bora, that's an easy question. That's
I
Pennsylvania.
had the 4 of Wands.
Oh, sorry, you did say that.
Yeah.
I got the 10 of Wands, so sort of
Hey, we 3 of us had Wands.
you know, a lot of stress, feeling burdened, feeling overworked. Now, that could be a multitude of reasons why they feel that way. Maybe just the preparation for it all, maybe all the other things that are going on that sort of might be dampening the spirit of Hanukkah for them. We've got the star card, which is lovely. So they're trying to keep the faith. They're trying to believe in the celebration of Hanukkah and what it means to them, and like not letting people sort of take that tradition away from them. Or the magic of that moment, shall I say. On the bottom of the deck, I got the 4 of Swords. So feeling like they need to take a rest. And I don't know this, if this is a rest from the outside to enjoy the Hanukkah. Like if they're thinking like this is a break, we get to step into our tradition and sort of, marinate and celebrate that. Or if this is a rest after Hanukkah is over because they just had so much fun. I'm not sure which. What do you guys think?
I think you got to remember the star is the next card in the tarot after the tower.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the illusions have been stripped away. And so now they're maybe choosing to deal with their goals differently.
There you go.
Than they would have. And they probably need to rest and reconsider. Because one of my favorite Four of Swords cards is in the Housewife's deck. And it's a woman in a spa.
Right.
Rest and retreat and just, think about it and figure out what's best.
I love that deck.
I love that deck too.
Can't find them here in Canada.
Maybe if you're really nice to an American, they could mail it to you.
Yeah. Do you know how much money? Do you know how much it costs? It costs so much money to mail something to Canada. It's ridiculous. You'd think we live 3 million miles away. I could like drive there for cheaper.
Yeah.
I got the cost the other day, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, to mail something to England. It's $80 for me to pay to mail a. Sorry, I'm lying to you. It's almost $100 to mail a box that weighs less than 5 pounds without tracking to England. If I was going to mail a box that weighed less than 5 pounds to England with tracking, it's $130 some odd dollars. And if I don't give a crap when it arrives, and next October, for example, it's $46. And again, those are all without tracking. If I want tracking, I probably have to sell my arm or something. It's crazy. Don't you guys think that's nuts? That's
a lot. I had family in the States, and I had a letter to mail from Canada to the States, like in New Hampshire. Okay, and the letter, if I wanted to send it, like you said, priority, it was over 20 some odd dollars for a friggin' letter, nothing in it. It weighed nothing. And I said, the hell with that. I said, okay. And I just made it ordinary because it just cost me the stamp and I think a U.S. stamp. That was it.
Yeah.
But geez,
even that is expensive.
When I made it special, they told me it's over. I said, it's not worth it. What's in the envelope, it's not worth it.
It's crazy.
Well, I used to ship a lot of stuff, my grids and things, like the thing I built tonight. I put it in a frame, a lot of stuff. And I had a lot of people in Canada who were ordering them. And within the States, it's like $13 to $16, kind of depending. But into Canada, it was $70 some dollars. And these people would really get really upset when I'd say, I really need you to cover the postage difference because that was my entire profit on building the thing. And some people would get irate, and I said, well, and this was all from Louis DeJoy's messing with the post office. So.
Well, I know something about him because I ordered cards from Debbie Freeberg, which she's in Colorado. What it did, instead of coming, Colorado is closer to Canada than Los Angeles or something like that. It went from Colorado, it went to Los Angeles, and it took a couple weeks before I got the cards. And people were joking on my channel, and they said, "Well, that's because DeJoy was playing with my cards before I got them."
That's right. Yeah, when you mail to Canada from Texas, it goes through Carroll Stream, Illinois, which is a customs clearinghouse. And I'm kind of offended because I sort of think as people on the other side of the border is just like us. The only thing that's different is they say a boot.
We do not. Anyone want to kiss?
Oh.
Sorry. They've
don't
been
have any
sitting here
chocolate in the
staring
house.
at me for 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I have resisted, and I cannot do it anymore because they're my favorite. So I'm breaking down. I apologize.
That's okay.
I just found a package in the cupboard. But I was checking all the cake mixes and stuff and seeing if I had like the little papers for the cupcakes and all that. You know how you do before you
Yes.
for the holiday, throw out all the stuff that you bought last year that you didn't use. You know how that goes.
Yes.
And I found a whole bag of Hershey Kisses in the cupboard, and I had to sit down because I was like, oh, they're my favorite. I love them. It's very disappointing. Here's the good news, Prince Charming.
Prince Charming's mom wants one of your Hershey Kisses.
I know. I'm saying that this is the good news. I eat them and gain all the weight and the calories.
You can send her mine too, dozen cats, because I've been screwing my keto diet up so badly that I woke up one day and I told my daughter, as stiff as I felt, and that's all of what it was. This was just letting, and I mean, I ate like a baked potato,
Right.
but it over carb loaded me.
I had a female bacon sandwich with cheese, sliced tomato on it, and a pickle today for
I'm getting hungry.
my brunch. So good. So good. All right. What else are we going to read on? We read on Mrs. Claus. Did you guys all have turkey today? It's like the turkey has set in, right, friends? They're all like, what? No, just...
Not me. I had cream of celery soup. So homemade cream of celery soup.
Did you really? You didn't have turkey?
No, I don't eat that anymore.
No.
No.
Wow, really, Miss Candy? She says, I lived like 5 minutes from a friend who mailed me a package next town over, and it ended up in Montana.
That's what I'm saying.
That's about right.
Allie just mailed me a whole bunch of cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a gift. It cost her $80. And it was a box like a shoe box.
Mm-hmm.
It cost her $80. Like $80. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, really? You lived in Colorado and it went to Montana? Oh my God. That's crazy. Okay, favorite gift that you ever received growing up?
Oh,
Favorite
Telescope.
Christmas present?
Telescope.
That's cool.
A really good one. And my dad used to go out and stand in the snow with me, and because that's the best time of year in Illinois to watch the stars.
I love that.
And yeah, he wanted me to be an astronomer, and unfortunately, sort of ended up a semi-astrologer. I'm not sure he'd be happy, but
I love that. Anybody else got a favorite gift when they were growing up?
You remember?
See, I'm one of those people. I got a memory like an elephant. I don't forget anything.
I won't speak to that.
No, don't. That was good, Nancy. My favorite gift growing up, I mean, something that always sticks out in my mind was, I'm of a certain age that the movie camera was like a really big deal at my house. And, when I got to a certain age and you'd have to eat the days of the week underwear, I don't know why, but it's like, hold up the underwear so dad can film it. It's like, ew. Like, there's all so many things wrong about that. But every year you be in your stocking and you pull it out of the stocking and then, they're all like different colors and stuff. And, pull everything up and show the movie camera. And it's like, oh my God. But my favorite Christmas gift was when my dad bought my sister and I cross country skis because I went skiing one time and said that I wanted to cross country ski. It was a crazy trip. It was awful. It was like a field trip with my school, and was in grade 5. I didn't know anything about skiing, as most 10-year-olds probably don't. And when I got out there on the trail, my skis weren't moving, and it was because they weren't waxed. And my father was one of the chaperones, and in his infinite wisdom, he said, "We'll switch skis." If you know anything about skiing, your ski size is based on your height. And I was 10, and I'm like this big now. So when I was 10, I was like, you barely even seen me. So I had like 6-foot skis on. It took me forever to get back because I was working so hard with these big, huge skis on. I was falling down more than I was up. And anyways, it was a whole situation. So when I came home, I said I wanted to learn how to ski. And my father bought my sister and I a set of cross-country skis and all the gear and the boots and everything. And we thought, wow, we are adults. Look at the present that we just got. We got all dressed up. We went out to the end of the driveway. Mom and Dad came out there, took a picture of us, and that was it. We never put our skis on again. We heard about it for 10 years. Asked for something like, oh, we really want it. Yeah, like your skis, yeah. So that's why that is my favorite gift. It was a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different lesson.
We got snowshoes, so I love to do that and walk with snowshoes, and
Were they as a gift, or was it a survival mechanism?
Oh, Nancy, because we live in Canada, so much snow.
My dad cross country skied to the one-room schoolhouse he was educated in. Of course, my dad was born in 1918, but he used to tell us that he would be cross country skiing, and he'd be up at the top of the telephone poles, of the electric poles. And he said we were just so happy we had electricity, But he drove us around that part of Canada one time to show us the divine trip of how he was tortured as a child. And it wasn't, when torture, if you wanted to go to school, that's what you did.
Yeah, as parents do. When you hear the story that they had to walk 5 miles to school barefoot or with cardboard on the bottom of their feet or snowshoes or some darn thing backwards, something like that.
And that's still the reality in some places in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yep. My dad's story was like the fish story, though. Every time he told it, the distance got further, the time got shorter. You know what I mean? It got deeper. Like, it was just like, come on, Dad, really? My grandmother, as I said last night, used to live in a converted schoolhouse, and she had an outdoor, I don't know what the technical term for it is, but basically it's an indoor outhouse. So when you go into the washroom, it's in a house. It looks like a regular washroom, but it's got a piece of wood with a hole cut out and a toilet seat attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was the most fascinating thing I'd ever seen. I was like 3 or 4. And when the first time I ever went potty in that bathroom, I was like, well, this is like just the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I decided that was my favorite room in the house. And so I would go into the bathroom often, and I would take everything off of the counter and throw it down the hall. Because I didn't understand why there was a hole there that you could do that to. And then my grandmother would freak out because everything was missing, and then my uncles would have to fish it out of the hole.
Oh.
Well, because we didn't know. I mean, so y'all see Bora's picture there. Like, I don't know what the picture is, but it's like pink, and it looks kind of like bubbly to me. Mm-hmm. And I used to have those pink fuzzy slippers that look like a Kleenex box cover,
Mhm.
And I threw those down that hole one time.
I wouldn't want them back.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I don't know where the dogs are coming from, that way or that way. I can close that doorway.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm going to take off because my dogs have just been atrocious. I'm going to go take care of them, see what they're
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
Ivana,
barking.
one time I was on Scott Allen's show and my daughter had just gotten a kitten and the cat started fighting in front of my desk and I just ignored him and we just went on. And finally someone in the chat says, "Does anyone else hear a cat fight?"
I have people say that, yes. We can hear your dogs barking. So I'm going to let you go. Merry Christmas and happy
Well,
holidays.
thank you. It was lovely
Merry
seeing
Christmas
you.
to you.
A lot of
Merry
fun.
Christmas, Ivana.
Thanks for helping.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Bye, hon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, friends, Christmas is fun, isn't it? It really
No,
is.
not really. I think it's interesting, but I've detached myself enough from all the expectations I used to have about it. The best thing that happened to me this, other than building the grid here today and really feeling some energy coming into that, was the Christmas card Angela sent everybody who
Yeah.
works with my garden. She's a member of my garden. She's in Finland. And her village just stops on Christmas Eve and they have a 48-hour declaration of complete peace. And she said the laws really change. If you break the law or do anything that's disruptive in that little village during that time, you really pay.
Yeah.
And she sent me some gorgeous pictures. If you go to my website, you can see the posting I have on it. And she's such a marvelous person, and
She's
hearing
lovely.
about the world from their perspective,
Mhm.
and she's a really good garden reader. She's really getting that down. So
She is, absolutely.
It's nice. Sometimes my subscribers send me some emails with really lovely things. It's really
Mhm.
nice. It really helps me go. You know, really, it keeps me going.
Mhm.
You know, I think that that's a really great thing to talk about just for a second. Well, not just for a second, but like just a little sidetrack. When, you know, because we say thank you, and I don't know that I have said thank you in the right way, or that the people that I'm saying thank you to actually understand the difference that they make in our lives. I'm sort of
Mhm.
agreeing with what you guys are saying when they do simple things like that.
Yeah.
I had someone send me an email who told me that they had popped into the chat one day and asked a question, and I answered them, and they weren't a subscriber, and then they subscribed, and that they felt that I was the only person that understood them. And it's not because they said something kind to me. It's because they heard what I was saying. Do you know what I mean? Because that for me, that's why I'm here. I want to make it okay. You know, if you have a mental health disorder, or if you have some pain or some trauma or something that you're trying to get past, that's what brought me here, is because I share my story, because I want people to know it's okay. And you're not supposed to feel any shame or blame, right? It's not your fault that you're in that position. The important bit is that you are able to feel supported and loved, and learn different tips and tools and information to help you be able to move forward. That's why I'm here. And so when I get that, when someone sends something like that or leaves a comment under a video, I feel like I was heard, and like yay, the message is out there. And it just I can't really explain what it does inside. It gives me hope, really.
Yeah.
Like, it seems really appropriate, because like that's a gift to me. That's what it feels like. Do you know what I mean? So on Christmas, I want to say thank you to the subscribers, and I'm sure that we all will tell our bit, but thank you to all the people that support, right? Whether it's a thumbs up, a donation, or whether you come into a chat and put something in it. You collectively, you all sort of like help, and the support is amazing. And I love sitting on this side, watching the support in the chat, how they support each other.
Mhm.
That is probably the most amazing part about doing a live, is somebody
Yeah.
says something, another person says something, and before you know it, the whole chat is sort of like holding each other's hands.
Mhm.
And that's beautiful to me. It's breathtaking, actually, to watch another person start to like heal, start to like
Mhm.
peel back those layers. It really is breathtaking. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. So thank you.
Well, it's lovely for me because I get to meet in the flesh occasionally some of the people. Like I got to
Mhm.
meet Angela when Sheila was here, and we met, and then we've spoken several times since, and
Mhm.
there's just a whole lot of. I worked a party a couple weeks ago on a Saturday night. It's the same house I went to a year ago and got COVID, so it was a real consideration going there. Okay, and um, but the fun about working for me, those kinds of parties, it's like you get to meet your chat room. You meet
Mhm.
the same people are there every year. You get to meet them. You get to find out what's going on. And when they come and tell you, one woman said, I think you really kind of saved my life. Not that I was self destructive, but I told her in her reading it showed she hated her job
Mhm.
and really good at it. And she wasn't getting out. And I told her, I said, but I think you're going to get out because you're going to be out by April. Well, she denied, no, I'm a creative and I'm allowed to do what I want here and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she showed up and she looked much like she'd looked the year before, but she said, I want you to know that from April until October, I dyed my hair your color in honor of the lady who told me to take another look at yourself and decide what you really want to do. And she has since gone on to doing she's about to be hired by another company, which is why she dyed her hair black again.
Mhm.
I had another woman it was the biggest compliment I think I've ever gotten. That's sort of a long-term thing. She was a writer I read for, and she had writer's block. She'd had several death losses in her family, and she couldn't get her head together.
Mhm.
And she sent me her first published short story that
Nice.
that she'd done. I think Jeffrey read it. I was a character in it. It was a woman who helped
Yeah, I
guide her to
do
the
remember.
point.
I do remember.
And yeah, and she said she was talking to me and said she dyed her hair purple, and everybody kind of went, "Why is her hair purple?" And she said, "Well, I was 69 and tired of people not paying attention to me, so I dyed it purple." And then the woman's very woo woo, and kind of guides her through the death of her father and how to get past it. And when I read that story, I just lit up like a Christmas tree and I sent it to the
Mhm.
reader because I had it kind of new. I mean, it was such a boost. And I wrote to her and she said, "Oh my God, you know what your reading said to me about just getting back on that horse and riding."
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I shared with her, which I won't share here, but some situations in my life where I felt really burnt and I thought I'm going to go become a crispy critter in the corner and I'm not going to help anybody else. And she said, but you never stopped trying. And she said, I so admired that. And she said, so I was realized, well, what am I sitting here telling my sob story for? I need to go move forward.
Yeah.
And that's in essence what she wrote in the thing. But it was from our end, it's not the money, although the money helps.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the recognition and the realizing you touch people
Yeah.
and you make a difference and feeling it within the reader community as well as in the people we read.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. Well said.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a very profound thing. It's a very
Mhm.
profound thing.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you don't even know what you're saying. I mean, for me, like I sort of go into trance sometimes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, you said this, you said that. I'm like, I have no idea what I said.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing the reading for me, I'm doing it for you.
Mhm.
I'm
Oh,
not doing
that's
it for me. And then it's like, and sometimes I get very like, oh.
Yeah.
And some people like that style, and I think the right people find the right stations for them.
Yeah.
right.
I did a private reading the other day for a lady who reached out to me and said to me that, I watch a lot of readers, and I knew that I needed this done. I wanted to have a reading, and she said, for some reason I just kept picturing your face. And I was like, that's just, I don't even know the words to use. I mean, it makes you feel like you're making a difference.
Well, we are.
And
We are.
for me personally, I mean, I don't think I'm speaking for my own self. I'm sure many people feel the same way. But for me personally, the struggle has been real. And in this last year, my life has been changed in ways that I never thought were even possible, that I would ever feel like I had a purpose again. And here I am. And to have someone say something like that to me, like that doesn't go unnoticed, and it's amazing. It truly is. And by the way, there's 11 people in the chat, just saying.
Mhm.
My mom is around.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Hi, Kelly's mom.
My mama's always around. She doesn't leave. She doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
I have a story about 11/11, Jeffrey. I don't know if you know my story about 11/11, so I'll share it with you because, I said that. So I've been seeing 11/11 and 1/11 for years, and I had no idea why I was seeing it. I did not have a clue. And it was about 3 weeks before my grandmother passed, my mom's mom, who I was very close to. And I got the phone call just shortly after 1, and I was like, Mom, like not right away. Obviously, I was cool about it. I waited a couple of days, and I said, Mom, you need to find out exactly what time Nana died. She said, I'm not doing that. I was like, okay. Anyway, I kept seeing it. Now, I wasn't seeing it all the time. It would go in fits and spurts. Like I'd see it a couple of times, then, 2 weeks would go by, and then I'd see it a couple more times. And I was like, this is just weird that every time I look at the clock or every time I look anywhere, it's like 11/11 or 1/11. What the heck does this mean? So I kind of forgot about it. And I was at my mom's house a couple of years later. We were going for a walk. And there where my mom lived, I don't know, it was very weird. They all sat out in the garage as if it was like a backyard or something, or a front porch. Very weird. Anyway, these ladies across the street from my mom were sitting in the garage. They were having a glass of wine or a beer or whatever. And, come on over. So we went over there, and this, my mom had a couple of beers. And this lady said that she sees 11/11 all the time on the clock. And my mom was never a believer. And all of a sudden, my mom turns around. She's like, honey, tell him your story. And I'm like, oh, look at you. You've had 3 years, and all of a sudden you believe, right? It's like, so I told the lady my story, and she was like, whatever. So I went home, and I looked it up on the internet, and it said, the site that I went to, your window of opportunity is open. And I'm like, well, great. I'm no wiser for this information. Like, I don't know what that means. So I'm like, okay. And fast forward to my mom being sick in the hospital, and I couldn't tell you how many times we drove to that hospital, and I was with different family members, and it was like 11/11, 1/11, 9/11, 4/11, whatever. And I'm constantly yelling it out or mentioning it. And they're like, we get it. You see 11/11, we don't care. I'm like, all right. They're not believers either. Moving on. So my mom passes away, and I have a reading that was gifted to me by my sister. And I'm sitting here, and it's a Zoom thing. And the lady says to me, I don't know why I feel like I'm supposed to like do this to you to get your attention. And I'm like, okay. And she said, when you see 11/11, don't doubt it. It's your mom. And I'm like, okay, that was. And so from that point forward, whenever I would see 1/11 or 11/11, I would always say, thank you, Mommy. I love you and I miss you. And usually blow her a kiss. And part of the reason that I had such difficulty, bye, Gerald. Merry Christmas, love. Part of the reason why I had such difficulty getting past my mother's passing is because there was a lot of negativity around her situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were never able to complete her burial service through no fault of our own. And we were only allowed to or able to complete that last year in July. And I was sitting there the night before and I was trying to write something out to say, and it was just going to be like my sister and my and myself and like our families, right? No extended family, just us. And I'm writing along and I decided to do it in time, right? Like we waited 9 years. I looked up how many days it was. I looked up how many hours it was. And when I looked up how many months it was 111 months that we waited. And while I was writing that thing out, because it took me a while, it was 11:11 at night at one point when I looked at the clock. And I literally wrote that right in my little whatever you call it. You know, thank you for the 11:11 confirmation. So now I know that you're watching over us. You know what we're doing. And it's sort of like you approve of what we did because we weren't sure if what we did was right. Because it wasn't really, well, there was nothing to go by. So anyway, so my point is the 11:11 holds a huge place in my heart, and I don't even know if it's true. I don't know if there is any association, but to me there is, and I believe in it. And it makes me feel so good whenever I see the number 11, like on the clock, change at a store or anything like that. And I love the fact that we have in this spiritual community those types of things that we can associate with something, like, you know, a cardinal outside your or a butterfly flies by, or, you know, a feather or a dime or whatever. We have these wonderful things that we can sort of attach something to or believe in. And it brings you so much joy. Do you not find? Do you guys have things like that do that for you?
The synchronicities are really important to pay attention to,
Yeah.
and they're not complex. You know, they're very simple. I have a friend who every time her mother from the other side's trying to get a hold of her, and she's decided to ignore hearing her mother, feathers show up at my house.
Oh, cool.
And so I'll call her up and I go, Virginia wants you to get in touch with her. Think about it, you know? And then one time I was thinking about doing something, and Virginia basically sent me the feather. It was on the inside of my car, you know, how to hell. So I said, oh, I got to call Sherilyn. And then I heard, no, dear, I'm here to tell you, you know, her mother was an incredibly spiritual woman, and I got to know her really well. This is a friend that I shared the hospital room with when we were both in high risk pregnancies, and we got each other through it. She had her baby 2 weeks before I had mine, but you know, and we had actually parted. We had not seen each other for 4 years, and when we ran into each other, we were pregnant. And so we rekindled our friendship, and then she ended up hospitalized before me. And the doctor basically told me, I think I'm putting you in the hospital today till the baby's born. And I said, can I choose my own room? I mean, like, hospitals aren't hotels, right? But I knew what her room number was, and they let us stay together. And at one point, when we've been together about a week, the nurses came in and they said, if you two don't stop misbehaving in the middle of the night like this and driving your blood pressure up, we're going to have to split you up. I felt like I was at summer camp. Anyway, so we both made it. We both had healthy children. We both had children who've been incredibly successful. But I knew her father pretty well because he was in construction like I was. And when I needed custom carpentry, he's the one I called and brought in. But I didn't, and I knew her mother because her mother had invited me to places, but I didn't know Virginia all that well till we were bedded down together. Now, the irony of the stories is, guys, and this is one of the things that intrigues me about past lives, My friend got a past life regression
Mhm.
about 5 years ago, and if I don't know if you've ever had one, but they start with look around you, what do you see? And then they said, look at your feet. And from you'd be amazed. One of the things that constantly changes in culture is what's on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she looked down at her feet and she looked up and she realized she was in a very ornate mansion. And the doctor said, well, what year is it? And if you don't think about it and you just ask them when they're in that state, they'll tell you the year. It was in the Georgian times. And she said, I'm so upset. I'm so angry. And the doctor said, why? And she said, because my parents are just selling me to this old man who wants a young wife. And she was like 18 or 19 years old. And her whole life had been in London. And now she was in this estate. Well, then she went through a couple things that happened to the estate. But at the very end, the last thing they'll do when they do past life regression with you is they'll take you to your death sequence, where you are when you're dying. And my friend said, I'm dying. I finally had the baby. She was 22, I think she told the doctor. She was 22 and she'd had the baby, and the baby'd been a stillborn, and she was hemorrhaging out.
Oh,
And they left her alone. And the doctor said, are you completely alone? And she said, no. The only person that's with me is my maid servant I got when I moved to this house. And she started talking about the maid that was helping her through this. And she said, she said something that clued the doctor to the fact she knew that person's life. And she said, what would this maid's name be if in this life? And she said, Nancy.
wow.
And you talk about the all-time ironies of, and
Yeah.
the night she really cratered in her high-risk pregnancy, she was lying in her bed and all of a sudden she fell over. And I called the nurses and they hadn't caught it on her monitoring stuff. And they came in and she was out of there in 3 minutes. I mean, she was that close. And they said she
Wow.
died twice giving birth. She had died and they got her back.
Hmm.
Wow.
So I said, apparently I wasn't going to let you go this time.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there's all these rivers of time that we live in.
Yeah.
And, and we need to give ourselves some grace because, like, I'm not delighted with how this Christmas happened. My youngest was moving their friend to the house, and we didn't know if they'd make it here by Christmas or not. So we planned a really small meal and just kind of, had to roll with the punches. Um, and that's where we are, you know? And
Yeah.
so, but instead of saying, oh my God, this isn't the perfect Christmas and I can't invite every friend I have over, what the hell? I didn't. I just said, this is the Christmas we're supposed to have. So I
Yeah.
listened to some interesting, inspirational people on YouTube and got settled with it, including Kelly, who's such an inspirational speaker to me.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah. I think that it's, I don't know, it just makes me happy to think that, when you see those signs and symbols that you feel some sort of comfort, right? You feel attached to something else, or it takes you to a moment or a memory.
It's for me. It's like I know what you mean, but it's like it's reality.
Yeah.
It's reality. It's just a reality I live in, like more and more and more.
Right.
Because my stuff is coming more and more and more, and I
Yes.
think also because I live here, and I don't really speak Spanish that well.
Yeah.
So, and everything is different.
Mhm.
It's different. The where I live is different. The way people do business is different. Everything is different. So I'm really, in a way, forced to be more in my intuition and my
Yes.
instinct than a place that I know and I'm familiar with. I know, what's going. There are no surprises. So more and more, it's like they're reminding me all day, we're here with you. And, overall, I have to say, being here, I feel, and I've always felt like this here, I feel loved, protected, led,
Mm-hmm.
comforted. Always when I'm here, always.
That's lovely.
Like I belong here. Like, because even before the fire and all that, because I've been here many times before, there's something about this place that just feels. We'll talk about past life. I mean, I can only imagine, right? But it just feels like home
Yeah.
in a way that I never felt in New York, and I lived there my whole life. I never felt that in any other place that I lived in my life. Or I mean, not lived, but visited. You know, you
Right.
go to a different city and you're like, oh, this is interesting. This is not interesting. I like this. I don't like that. Whatever. Right.
Right.
But, or, you know, oh, I could see myself living here, or I don't know, it's not for me. But this, it's like, and it's very different. It's very different. I know a lot of Americans would be like, oh, no, 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 no. But I don't know. It just feels like I belong. It's really incredible.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, like, I mean, you know I don't know you, but like, I'm happy for you because you feel that way. I mean, what an amazing
Mm-hmm.
end to what started out to be like a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It changed your whole life, that thing, what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
There was a reason behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, sometimes if we don't respond, the universe will light a bigger fire under our butt.
I mean,
And
that's
literally did that.
so like that for me. That's the difference between the tower and the death card. The death card is like an interior transformation.
Yeah.
The tower is an exterior transformation.
Right.
That
Right.
gives you a new star and a new
Well,
set of.
even when I show the card, like the tower when I do a video, I go like this. I go, oh, your foundation's being shook up.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I mean, like, seriously, that's beautiful that's your experience, and that you feel so, you know, so embraced there. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What is strange is I'm seeing 111 often now. I used to see it once in a while, but now ever since Kelly mentioned her mother 111, I'm seeing more often. And I get the impression, you know, when I see 111, I know it's your mom appearing, but also I think my mom is working with your mom.
Yeah,
together.
you said that to me before, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Angela feels my mom all the time.
Oh yeah.
And Johnny Terrell's Apprentice has been here a few times, and I don't know what it is about I don't know if it's him, I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's him and I when we share the screen together, but pretty much every time the lights go flicker on and off.
Mm-hmm.
That does not happen. If it happens now, I will crap myself, but it doesn't happen ever. And like it's been like 2 or 3 times that he's been on the screen talking to me, and all of a sudden the lights just like, and I'm like, okay, that's enough, stop. And he's actually said to me, when like, you know how you meet backstage, you know, getting ready to go on or whatever, and he's like, just letting you know, like, the energy's high, so don't be surprised. And sure than crap, before we're done, that happens, and I'm like, it just freaks me right out. That's all.
But I think there are energy imprints that, like, I don't know how to put it. Like, there's a certain individual who will connect with a certain other type of individual, whether they're dead or alive, right?
Yeah.
So I have these 2 friends, and you know, a lot of my friends, they're either like, a lot of my friends are witchy, right?
Right.
So I have these 2 friends, and I introduced them to each other,
Right.
like via phone call or something. And what ended up happening, this is really wild, they would both channel each other's mothers to each other.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, my job is just to like have the party, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, there's that one, blah, blah, blah. And then that's what ended up happening.
You're like
Isn't
the
that funny?
host. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
so there's like an energy imprint that, like, either like I'm getting into that or I'm not getting into that, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
Sorry, My husband's talking to me, and I'm saying, "Do you want to come and say hi? Come say hi. Merry Christmas to everybody."
Hi,
Merry
Mark.
Christmas. Thank you for lending her to us for the evening.
Hello, Jeffrey.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Yes, you too.
It's my husband.
Merry
Mark.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, buddy. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Mark.
Thank you for letting Kelly loose for the evening.
You're going to have her all you want.
Jeez.
That was second love. I felt the love.
That's the sort of faces I remember when I grew up where people had to shovel snow.
Oh,
Yeah, he's exhausted.
Mm.
It's probably because he's taken up ice skating recently. Now, when I say he's taken it up, he knows how to skate. He used to play hockey, but he hasn't skated in some time, friends. But
for him.
recently, he's been on a wee bit of a fitness kick, and so God bless him. He's going to the outdoor rink that's close to us.
Now? Tonight?
Not tonight, but he's been yesterday. He was, and
But how cold was it?
minus 17.
Please. This year I'm wearing a sweater. This is like the coldest day I've had in Mexico. I'm wearing a sweater.
We're Canadians, we can handle it. But anyways, there he was,
Canadians, you know.
doing his thing, and I'm like, I'm thrilled. So he when he was snow blowing today, he was like, "Oh, I'm exhausted," and I'm like, "Don't blame it on the snow blowing. It's because of the skating. It's like a joke." I keep saying, right? Because
You're always energized by the things you want to do, and you're always stripped by the things you don't.
Absolutely. So, everybody's talking about getting kicked out. Linda says I was kicked out of Spanish class in high school because I asked too many questions and the teacher didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Then Linda says, I see flashes in the sky sometimes. It's very subtle, the cosmic wink.
That's beautiful.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Prince Charming's mom says I was kicked out of Bible school. I was kicked out of class once.
I was kicked out of catechism class, and they just told me that they couldn't recommend that I become a Presbyterian, and I left the building like I got out in the alley and went, yes. I always knew I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
I used to be a cheerleader in high school, and so when we had like an away game in the afternoon, and depending on the classes that you had, sometimes you'd have to get like dressed after lunch, like in your cheerleading outfit, because like you had to, like class was over.
Right.
And I was in science class, and we sat like on those little stools, not in a chair, like at a desk, one of the little lab stations, and we wore those pom-poms with the bells in them, like everyone had on their roller skates on our running shoes. And because I'm constantly fidgeting, I was like wiggling my foot, and so I was ding 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 with and I got kicked out of science class because my bell was ringing is basically what happened. I was devastated. I've never been kicked out of anything. Like I had one detention my whole time in school, friends, and I was in a split class, like a grade 5, half grade 5, half grade 6. We were moving, and the whole class got a detention. So obviously I got out of it because I was moving. And I was leaving the school and at like 2:30 in the afternoon or whatever. So that's the only detention I've ever had. I got kicked out. He sent me out in the hallway. I was like, oh. Yeah.
I spent the better part of my junior high years in the library because the science teacher decided he really didn't like me. So I ended up there. And then I got in trouble for reading the book I really wanted to read instead of what Miss Missman was reading to us. At the front of the class, and every time I'd go home, my parents would go, "What did you do today?" And they just said, "You just have to get out of junior high and you'll be okay." But that wasn't true either. My freshman year in high school, I had a copy of The Tempest. The Tempest. And I had it on my stack of books. And my English teacher came down the aisle, came down the desks, And he goes, "What are you doing reading that?" And I said, "I like Shakespeare." He said, "You're not capable of understanding Shakespeare." And he took my book and he threw it across the room
Wow.
and said I shouldn't be trying to convince other people I was doing things I wasn't doing. And I said, "But excuse me, sir, my father takes me to see Shakespeare in the park every year in Chicago." And he said, "You don't have to wave that sort of stuff at us and blah, blah, blah." And I said, "I'm not waving at you. I'm telling you that I've seen this play and I understand it."
Mhm.
And he looked like he was going to slap me, and he didn't, which would have been great because then I'd been in another class I could spend in the library. But um, anyway, I went home, and this is the value of eating dinner with your kids when they're in school.
Yep.
Because that night at dinner, my dad said, "Anything weird, well, he said, anything interesting happened to you at school today?" And by the time they got around to me, it was, "What weird thing happened to you?" And I said, "My English teacher threw away my my um, paperback of Much Ado, The Tempest." And he said, "Why? Were you reading it in the class?" And I said, "No, he just saw it there." And he said, "I couldn't understand it and I was being pretentious." And he threw it across the room. And my dad said, "What's his name?" And I said, I told him, I don't even remember what the guy's name was. Um, and the next morning when we were the 49ers were the biggest class in the baby boomer generation. So we were going shifts till they finished the two new high schools. So I got up in the morning to go to school, and my mother said, "You're not going to school today." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Oh, your dad was talking to Uncle Bill." Uncle Bill DeWitt was a doctor he practiced medicine with, who also happened to be president of the school board. And the next mom said, "You just have the day off, honey. Go do what you want to do, read what you want to read, you know." And I said, "Okay, I'm, I'm not going to fight this, right?"
Right.
And I went to class, and then the next day, my mom drove me to school, which was weird because she never did that. Had to take the bus. And she got me down there and she said, "You need to go to this room and they're going to tell you what your schedule is now." And I said, "What do you mean?" They had changed my entire schedule to get me away from that English teacher. They put me with a new English teacher, a new Latin teacher, which was, I ended up with a much better Latin teacher, also a much better English teacher. And my earth science and the other things all stayed the same. But I started school instead of at noon, like where I'd been, I started
Mhm.
school at 10:30 in the morning and got out at 4.
Mm.
Anyway, um, so that's also the power of white privilege and having your parents be doctors and in those sorts of positions. But my dad told me when I came home that night, he said, "You like your new teachers?" And I said, "Yeah, what the hell happened?" And said, "You're going to be fine. And if anybody else ever takes a book from you," he said, "you have my permission to stand up and go across the room and pick it up, dust it off, and tell them they have no right to steal your mind."
Mhm.
Beautiful. You gotta love it when your parents stand up for you in that sort of way.
Yep.
Well, and I plus me, I gave them plenty of reasons to need to.
Yeah. I never did anything bad in school.
Thrown
Really.
out of every class I had.
You what?
I was thrown out of math. I was thrown out of science. I was thrown out of English. I was thrown out of Hebrew. I was thrown out of Bible. I was thrown out of typing, Spanish, everything. I'm a smart ass.
Yeah.
I was accused of plagiarism by my grade 8 teacher. It was like 2 weeks before we were, before school had ended. And
Mhm.
I literally was, I don't know, we had to write a story on some picture boards or something that she had shown us. She
Mhm.
placed them around the chalkboard and said, pick a board and write a story because she had literally nothing to give us to do. And I guess she needed to give us some homework. And she
Mhm.
was one of these teachers that was
No, here they all go.
like like an older person, but trying to be like 25, if you know what I mean. Like, she was trying all these like new and modern kind of techniques on us. And so she wanted us to sit in the shape of a U. With our desks, so like she would move her desk and sit between us. You know what I mean? She would move around the room, and the reason why we had the U shape was that we were all looking at each other instead of staring at the back of someone's head. It was supposed to make you feel more inclusive, or I don't know, whatever. I can't remember the reason. Anyway, so she's handing back the papers, and when it comes to me, she calls me, and then I go into the U to wherever her desk is to get it. And I went to grab it, and she kind of tugged back, and I was like, what? Anyway, right there in front of the whole class, she accuses me of plagiarism. And I'll be honest, I didn't even know what the heck plagiarism meant. So I was like, okay. But according to her, I basically stole the movie plot of a movie of the week or something. And I'm like, okay. And I went home and I told my parents that, this is what happened, and that she embarrassed me in front of my whole class. My parents went to the principal, and she got a talking to, and then she had to apologize to me in front of the whole class. So that was so the point I'm trying to make is that was one of those moments where my parents really stood up for me and believed me. Like, there was no like, you're lying or you're questioning. You know how that happens sometimes?
Right.
I mean, luckily that was not my experience. But I've heard many a story and seen many a program where a kid will say something to their parent just assumes that they're full of it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, my parents had more than enough reason to believe I was full of it, but they didn't ever attack me. And really, if you're a parent, listen to your kids, because my youngest was in a charter school, and she literally had a English teacher decide. At that point, my child was on the road to be the valedictorian, and she said she wasn't going to have she told me, not to my face, she said it to another teacher who came to me and said, you're in real trouble. She's decided that she's not going to have another white kid be the valedictorian.
Right.
And the consequence, my child was in that position because we'd homeschooled for 7 years. So they walked in so much better prepared. I mean, they used to co-teach with the teachers in some of their classes, because when you got one-on-one teaching, you've got a person with a master's in English and a person who's a physicist. Anyway, long story short, it got so divisive. And the one thing I did not want to ever happen to my kids, this one was learning to hate school and hate going there. I said, that's it. And I called the schools that had already accepted them into college. And I said, if they don't finish this year, what do we do? And they said, just get their GED. And they've already passed the boards to get into us. We've accepted them, take them. And one was a scholarship.
Wow.
And so anyway, listen to your kids. You really do too. Suma Mishra.
I was just trying to type that really quietly in the chat while you were talking.
Okay.
I was just going to say, hi, Samaya, how are you? We're not really like doing personal questions. Not saying that
Except for us.
I'm not saying that we couldn't, but we're not really doing personal questions tonight. We're actually getting ready to wrap this up because we've been here for 2 hours. But I will be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern if you want to pop back in tomorrow night. And we can take your question then.
I have a question.
Yes, of course, Lev.
Cartomancy Mesquite, how did you come up with your name?
Well, when I started reading cards, I started reading playing cards, and that's what cartomancy is.
Right.
And Mesquite's the town I live in.
Okay.
I could almost walk to her house, Jeffrey.
Right. So you really, really understand the numbers then?
Yes.
Yeah, the numbers are super important. I always read numbers, always.
She's amazing. Like, she's an amazing reader.
Thank
We just
you.
got to find her a permanent gig here in Dallas. Get her
Yep.
out of this. Working on it, girl.
Okay. There's no way I can read down here in Mesquite. Too many
No.
churches.
No. You got to find the right bar, the right venue.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, friends. We are going to. I think we're going to call it a night. We've been here for 2 hours and 10 minutes, and if anyone had turkey, you're probably like hanging on by a thread at this point.
Mhm.
Because turkey has a tendency to do that to people. So I want to say thank you to Angela and to Jeffrey and to Ron and to Nancy Jean and to Ivana, who was here earlier, for joining us. Thank you everyone in the chat who was here. Thank you to everyone who's going to listen to this on playback. I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope that you have enjoyed just kind of hanging out with us for this evening. It was just, something to do and something fun, and I kind of ran out of fun facts, but anyways, I'll find some more for tomorrow for Boxing Day. So we'll be back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. I put everyone's links in to the chat. I will add them to the description box below the video. If you don't know who these awesome people are, please do go check their channels out. They are great readers, and I would be ever so grateful if you share some love with them. So thank you everybody for being here. We will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And with that being said, we wish you many blessings.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.
Cable says bye.
I thought I heard something.